how much, let's go back. Years ago when we passed this, we told the citizens of
Sales tax.
the sales tax, the citizens of St. Francis County, whether you all, way prior to you, that if you'll let us pass the sales tax, we will roll back, as it grows, we will roll back the property tax. So every year, depending upon the sales tax, and if you remember last year, our projections on our sales tax were flat, they came in bigger than what we thought, by about 300,000, so we had to roll 50% of that back, plus the increase, which we were about a 10% increase. So this year, we are actually gonna drop our property tax rates to the citizens more than half. It's gonna go from a little over 5 cents to 0.02, so a little 3.6, so a little over 2 cents. Now, a reminder to the people that your tax rate, if it's $3 or $4, the vast majority of that is schools, community colleges, other things. Our tax rates are a nickel is what they were last year. Now they're going to go down to 2.36 cents. And the assumptions we're having there is I took the last 6 months, because you have to assume what the sales tax will be, and I said that they would be the same as last year, because we still have a lot of uncertainty. But just, I think that I roughly calculated if we have more than a 6% sales tax increase next year's our tax rate will go to 0 for the county portion.
And keep in mind that, like you said, that what the county keeps out of your tax bill is a minimal amount. Most of it's education, that's about 90%. And I'm not saying education is a bad tax, but they get the lion's share of that check you write every year. And then, of course, there's ambulance and seniors and every other tax bill too. So, but we're authorized to charge like 31.48 cents originally, way back when. But now that's down to 2 cents per $100 evaluation. So it's practically nothing, and we hope we'll go to nothing soon.
But we have to have a public hearing to see if anybody's got questions.
Okay, any questions on that? Do I have a motion to adopt this new tax levy?
I'll make that motion to adopt the tax levy that was set by the clerk.
.0236 per $100.
Thank you.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay, now officially, any questions or comments? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you. So I guess we close this tax levy hearing, and we go into our regular meeting now, which is scheduled after the tax levy.
We have to close it first.
Oh, I thought we did.
You make a motion to close.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to
I'll
close the tax
second.
levy.
Okay, and all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, now we go into the regular commission meeting.
Commissioner Cater?
Here.
Commissioner Gallagher?
Here.
Commissioner Buckley?
Here.
Quorum is present.
As you wish, please stand for the invocation and the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sir?
Dear Lord, please be with us today as we go throughout this day to do what's best for the county. And please continue to have the Copeland family in your prayers. And we also want to thank you for watching over Kobe Buckley. And we ask this in your name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. You want to give the board? How's Kobe going?
Kobe be coming home tomorrow. I go pick him up at the airport at 2 o'clock tomorrow. But he still has to have, we'll be taking him to WashU for probably the next month. But he's gonna get to come home tomorrow.
And Mom's coming home too?
Yeah, Mom's gonna go home. She's ready.
And Buck and Clay's mother is seriously ill and wants you to keep them in her prayers, your prayers. And Jared's cousin has passed away with COVID, so he's out today with the funeral. So all these families need your prayers, and we appreciate that.
And the families of the 13
Yes.
servicemen that died
Yeah.
over there, we remember them.
Okay, approval of minutes for the consent agenda is approval of last week's minutes, then appointment orders for Anna Denny, William Bertram, Sandra Robertson, Dana Kitchen, and Matthew Bellow. Motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you. There are no table agenda items. So, we need to authorize charter to begin the projects, this for the broadband work. Kevin, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, they've come twice before, so they got a grant from the federal government for areas that were deemed totally void of high-speed fiber optic internet. And what that's important, it's 2,000 families, almost 4,000 people in the rural part of St. Francis County. They're gonna be able to deliver that to at no cost to the county. But that will enable a lot of people, especially where more people are working at home, to upload and download much quicker in these areas. They sent the map of the different areas, but they need at least an oral authorization from the commission. If, you know, a lot of counties have the permitting and setting with planning and zoning and stuff, and they have a process for that. But they're ready to go. They've got the money, they're putting part of it in, federal government's putting part of it in. These were not profitable areas. You're not choosing people. The government chose who they're gonna fund on this. So what they're asking is authorization to go forward.
And this is no cost to us.
No cost.
No cost to us, okay. Now, Road and Bridge has a permit form that they'd like to get signed, and they're updating it now, and we will forward that to them, and it's just so that they know who's working where.
Yeah, I don't think that's a problem at all.
Yeah, okay. With that word, do I have a motion to authorize the charter to begin?
I'll make a motion that we approve charter to begin their projects on the fiber optic.
Second?
I'll second.
Any questions? Make a comment, they use the word 2,000 locations, and this would help also not only kids in school, but businesses out there, and people working at home, and everything else. So, okay. Any other questions, comments?
Should affect, now, you don't, I wanna clarify, they don't have to take it.
No.
Yeah.
They're just running by their house, and if they want high-speed internet, then they can avail themselves of it. That's their problem. If they want it, if they don't want it, charter has to market it to them and say,
Availability.
it's availability.
Comment?
Kevin pretty well, I think, answered it. I was just wondering if there was a study done prior to them deciding this area that they were gonna run to on how many people were actually looking to sign up or take advantage of having this.
No, it's asked backwards, if you ask me. The federal government got involved and said, we have to make sure that this grid, and they broke the counties down into grids, have absolutely no one in there that has high-speed internet. That doesn't mean it was the best marketing area. They could have said, you know, what's this, Hunter's Ridge, you know, that could be profitable, so let's do, no. They went to different grids, and it's in different spots, and says, we will give you money to bring high-speed internet to these areas that have absolutely no access to it. If one person in that grid had access to it, then they couldn't be eligible. So it's not where charter really wants everything to go, but it's, they've evaluated and said, yeah, we'll match money if you'll put money up, because we'll get enough people in those areas to make it profitable.
Any other questions? Yes.
Do you have a map on
We had from last
They gave it to us last time, I don't have it.
I can get you one.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got it in
It's in our
I'll get it to
file.
you.
There's a section just west of Doe Run, you know, like Stone, you know, it's a weird plotchy, and that's why they were never profitable and wouldn't do it on their own.
You'd think they'd do a block and then run a feeder line to that block and spread out from there, but no,
it? Federal government.
looks like tree
Federal
roots.
government, that's what I said, they're the ones that said
You're
it.
confusing common sense and government, don't do
I'll
that.
get you one.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, have we acted on that? Did we get everything done?
Yes.
Got the motion, okay. I have motion second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Okay, ARPA funds for software for public administrator, Gary.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
When I came in the office in January 2017, I was advised that we were a first-class county and we should try and do everything first class. That always stuck with me. So this is, in some respects, an opportunity to try and move forward in that direction. Last year, during the pandemic, everything slowed down in the public administrator's office. We couldn't make personal visits to our clients. The courts called in wards because of the shutdown. So Bess and I started talking about modernizing the office, the public administrator's office. There were several considerations, and I wasn't really thinking in terms of COVID funds and those types of things. I was thinking in terms of gee, when my successor comes in to take my place, I want to hand him off a modern public administrator's office. I don't want him to step in and say, oh my God, this is 1990s technology that this guy is handing over to me. So, on the one hand, we want to modernize the public administrator's office so we can be first class in a first class county. On the other hand, we believe we qualify for ARPA funds, and Bridget Smith agrees and made a recommendation for payment of ARPA funds per our application. The considerations that I have, Vesta may have a few others, and I'm going to ask her to speak in a minute or two to tell you more or less how to get from where we're at to where we want to be. But the considerations I had was that we wanted to have laptop with up-to-date, current, complete as possible information, partly because we work a lot outside the office. It's a field job. We're mandated by statute to make personal visits to our clients, and there's like 160 cases that we have. And so it would be nice to have a laptop with as much and complete information as possible when we go to these field meetings with our clients and the staff there at the various nursing homes or residential care facilities or whatever. If we can pull up current information and as complete information as possible, they have a meaningful meeting rather than going, well, I'll have to get back to the office and check on that. So it has a very practical consideration in that regard. But also, as far as COVID is concerned, or any pandemic, or any catastrophe for that matter, to be able to have that information out of the building, off-site, to be able to access it wherever I'm at or wherever they're at is important, because we get calls at all hours of the day from medical providers, from nursing homes, or from wherever that basically say, hey, we got your guy sitting here in an emergency room and we want you to consent to treatment. Well, sometimes I want to have a discourse about what's going on with the guy. Why is he in the emergency room? And so when you have information available, you can have a more meaningful discussion rather than just, whatever, So basically, another aspect of this is the importance of off-site data storage, basically a cloud. Right now, all our data, all our information, some of it is required to keep and store per federal law, per state law, is on site. So if something were to happen, some type of major electronic failure or whatever, we don't have anything off site. We need to store information on a cloud so that we can pull it down. So it's a safety precaution that allows us to be able to be ready for, various types of catastrophes, be it a pandemic or whatever, that could cause us to require to go off-site to get information because for whatever reason we can't get it here. Another consideration basically is that we would ask if it's possible to make your vote today on the ARPA funds. I think we're asking for a little bit more than $14,000, the same amount that Bridget Smith has recommended to the commission. And that'll help us get up and going to make the transition. And then, of course, once we use the ARPA funds, which are scheduled to be used through December of next year, we'll have to have an increase in budget, which can be addressed at a later time, to maintain our new systems, such as to pay an annual fee for the use of the cloud. And so there's many and various reasons for us to modernize our office, some of which are pandemic related. I'll give you one last example. In December of last year, both Vesta and I got COVID at the same time. She missed a few days from work. I missed a couple of weeks from work. And basically, we had the phone calls forwarded to Vesta's house so she could handle phone calls. But we didn't have the technology for her to handle other matters as it relates to running the public administrator's office. For instance, she didn't have access to a laptop or any of the other company computer-related equipment to be able to cause that public administrator's office to function. So we went a couple of days without being able to issue checks. And so we are issuing countless checks to make sure that our clients' needs are being met. We're paying nursing homes, residential care facilities, apartments, medical providers, utilities. We're paying the guy to come and mow the lawn at some of the houses that our residents live in. So in order to modernize our office, in order to protect ourselves as much as possible from whatever, it would be wise for us to update our office where we can get information virtually anywhere, operate the office virtually anywhere, and then if all else fails here locally on site, we have a backup with a cloud to help us retrieve information. So Vesta is going to take over at this point and make a few suggestions on how do we get there. You know, I've kind of like laid forth where we want to go, and she'll give you some practical suggestions on how we want to get there.
Hi. That's the Madeline, Deputy Public Administrator. Basically, we're operating under an application, SIM applications. It's designed specifically for public administrators. It costs $800 annually for our program, our software updates, and that we want to basically change from desktop version to a web-based version like he had mentioned. The cost increase for that is going to run approximately $800 per month instead of per year. The initial cost has a $540 setup fee, and the cost for the equipment that we had discussed with IT would cost approximately $2,000. So once the ARPA funds, if they cover that for the first year, every year after that would be somewhere around a little less than $9,000 annually. So,
Did I see,
now-
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
did I see the original cost estimate was $11,000? Did I see that 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Yes, 11,288, and that's based on 162 cases.
But it's up now to 14,000.
Yes, I think that was something that Bridget had recommended that in case it was to start this year.
Okay.
For like October through December.
Okay, so it's a time frame difference.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And you're working with Bridget on this?
Yes.
That's very good, okay. So it's your recommendation that we go ahead and approve this?
Yes.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Can I ask a question? This will be something the initial cost will be coming out of the ARPA funds, is what you're saying. Now, after that, the first year, well, the ARPA funds are out. So, this will be something that you have to put in your budget for future years down the road.
Yes, each year after to continue with moving forward in the same program. And this will give us the opportunity to be able to do a lot of different things, so.
Now, the initial cost is 14 even, or what? What's the actual cost?
I think Bridget's was like right over 14,000.
We'll need that amount in the budget,
Okay.
motion.
She sent it in email to.
14,015.
14,015?
Yeah.
Okay, and after that, the annual maintenance cost will be what?
And it varies. It's based on how many cases you have per month.
Okay.
So if we have closed cases, we close out, because they have passed away and we've closed out through probate, then
Well, that
that's
better.
one case that we don't have. If we have a new guardianship, that's a new one, so it's going to fluctuate. But we stay pretty much between 160 and 170 clients.
And that'll give you something you can budget off of in the future.
And they will bill either monthly in the future, or they can do that one lump sum, basically giving you either billing at the end of the term or a credit.
And basically, your office takes care of people that can't take care of themselves or have
Correct.
no one to help them take care of themselves.
Correct.
Okay, motion?
I make the motion that we allow them to seek the funds through the ARPA, for the total of 14,015. And make sure you guys just get with Richard, make sure it's
Okay.
passed.
Second,
I'll second that.
any questions?
How many clients do you now serve, Misty?
We have 278 appointments with 162 cases. And
What's
that's
it-
guardian and conservator and personal representative deceased estates.
What's the difference in appointment and case?
Well, the number of cases is per person, individual cases that we have, but some of his appointments might be just for, guardian only or conservator only, and then some are guardian and conservator.
Okay, but you have
So that-
288 appointments.
Yes,
And far
appointment,
fewer.
yes, your conservatorship appointment and your guardianship appointment.
Okay.
That's the difference between the two numbers.
Go ahead.
Do you set this up yourself, Bessie?
Pardon me?
Do you set this up yourself?
The program?
Yes.
The SIM applications, there's we've already attended some of their webinars for training, and they will do basically all online, they will do training for us to the changeover and switching it over.
Any other questions? Yes.
Do you guys have a master plan for your ARPA monies to be spent throughout the county, or do you address them one at a time as they come through the door?
It's one at a time as it comes up, and we have an office that's helping us do all the applications and such. And we do have a general guideline.
Sure.
Okay, any other questions?
Not a question, but a comment. We might point out that even though there is an application submitted, it is not guaranteed to be approved.
Yes, good point, yeah. And of course, first of all, it has to be appropriate, and then funds availability is the other part of it.
We'll do our best in our office to make sure that it is approved, but it's totally out of our hands once it's submitted.
But the motion is subject to appropriations, that's the way you want me to listen.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian, yes.
All right, any other questions? Okay, have a motion second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you, Jessica. Approval of comp time for a scanning project in that same office, who's gonna present that?
You want-
Go ahead, Les.
Okay, so basically, we have about $1,000 in our annual budget for comp time. And we have about 17 file cabinets plus several over in the basement at the courthouse. And we would like to start scanning those and putting those in the cloud. Most of our files to kind of go a little less paper in our files. We just have so much bulk in papers. So we would like to start that. The IT department has set us up with a OneDrive where we can scan and make separate folders for each of our individuals. This is going to be a very time-consuming matter, and so we are going to request to have an additional amount approved into our budget for comp time for Beverly and I to take care of the scanning and choosing what needs to go in that next year.
Couple of questions, are these in bound or loose leaf, or how are they filed? Is it individual sheets?
Each client that we have has a separate folder.
Okay.
And we organize and file everything in those folders. And some of them are this thick. Some of our cases take up a whole drawer in a file cabinet because of all just the bulk matters that we handle.
Have you considered temporary help or an additional worker? Because
We have considered that, however, each one of our cases they are similar in many ways, but they're also individualized. There's different records pertaining to different clients, and it's being able to know each one individually, what needs to be kept, what's important, what we have to save per retention laws. As an original document in the file, what can then be destroyed. So we figured that's going to be me pulling that stuff, knowing the history of all of our individuals, and then Beverly working on the scanning process of it.
how different would it be if you just told this temporary to copy everything in the file, digitize it?
Well, a lot of it just would not be necessary to.
Enough to make a big difference?
Mhm. Correct.
Okay.
And they could scan everything, but then it's knowing how to set up. Like I said, each one is individualized. We want to scan them and set them up and divide them per, like, their social security, their Medicare, their Medicaid, their care plans for their, treatment, their medical, their diagnosis, and so many different matters. A lot of our clients have, they also have legal issues that we handle. They may have a matter on an auto accident, or a divorce proceeding, or some kind of litigation between attorneys and deceased estates.
But if you do all this work and gain all this comp time, and you're so busy, when are you gonna have time to take your comp time?
Well, that's why we were wanting the additional funds in our comp time and for the payout for that, because I'm sure we will have to exceed that.
Okay, but that payout would be very expensive because
Yes.
you're paid well.
Mhm.
So it'd be 150% of your regular pay, and that's why I went back to temporary workers on that.
Yes, and that, we had requested the 12,000 because we had thought that that would be the amount that would be probably like if you had a temporary 1,000-hour employee.
I wonder if it would be good to take this into consideration.
I would, yes, one bit like that, just.
Why don't we table this one and really take a hard look at it and
Okay.
consider that? Is that all right? Motion to table?
Can I?
Yeah, I mean,
Can I
it
address
comes
for
down
a
to
moment?
our files.
Go ahead, Gary.
I got a couple of thoughts in this regard. Number one is, as far as temporary, staffing to handle the scanning, some of the documents we have are required to keep via federal and state law. And, the last thing we wanna do is have mistakes made where original documents are inadvertently shredded after they were scanned in when we needed to hold on to those documents. And we thought, this is more than just having somebody come in and just say, scan everything, We don't necessarily need everything scanned, but we need the right things scanned. And so, the second consideration is that if we bring somebody in the office as a clerk type person, after we've done the scanning, and then it'll be kind of like, well, what do we do with this person now, We've got this extra person on staff here, and once they get the scanning in, they can keep up with the scanning. It's the idea of getting it in, to take care of the backlog. The third consideration is that I know that at least Harold has been in our part of the building. I've seen David in our part of the building down there, and I'm not complaining, but we don't really have the physical space to bring in somebody else. In other words, whoever the somebody else might be, they'd be delegated to a file room. It's kind of like I would if we're gonna bring additional staff in, even if it's considered temporary. I would like to have enough accommodation for them that they can feel comfortable and in a decent work environment. So I'm in agreement with Vesta's thoughts on this, because I think that once they catch up, they're gonna have to do some overtime, so to speak, to get that stuff in there. But secondarily, once they're caught up, then they can just do it as part of their job duties. And I think, if you think about it, it may actually save the county money, as compared to hiring somebody else to come in and do it, when you think about the, not just the salary, but the benefits and other things that an employee of St. Francis County is rightfully entitled to. So thank you.
And with the temp employee, you won't have the problem of what to do with them when they're done, and you won't have the benefits cost.
Well, that's true. I don't know all the policy to how you guys hire temps, but our main concern is that getting it done right, because it's just not, here's documents, here's a scanner, run all this stuff through, it has to be done right.
Well, and one thing that hadn't been mentioned is security of those documents too.
That's true.
HIPAA rules and all that, so I agree with that. Yes, ma'am.
Corey may be able to correct me on this, but I think, doesn't our personnel policy, it's at the department head's discretion to authorize comp time?
Not sure
That
that's
it would
detail,
be,
HR.
because John, the sheriff, They don't come to you to ask if their employees can get comp time. I'm pretty sure our policy says it's the department head's discretion.
Is that true? Is that correct?
Now, the payout of that time obviously is the commissions. But I did wanna clarify, it doesn't get paid out at time and a half, it's earned. If you go over the 40 hours, it's earned at 1.5, but those hours are calculated when you earn it, how much paid out. All comp time's paid out at straight time hours.
And based on that detail, we don't have to act on this because Gary has the discretion to determine that.
Well, you would have to act on the budget overage
Right.
But that's,
when it's paid out,
And
if
that's
it's
why
paid out
we
this year.
requested it, was because for our budget to turn it in tomorrow, we would need any changes to payroll, and that we felt that was a payroll.
Vesta, this is a, excuse me for interrupting, this is a request for next year's budget, is this correct?
Yes.
okay, well, then that's all taken care of. We don't have to act on this, correct? Okay,
Thank you.
so Gary, that's your discretion on that.
So, okay, now, so I can understand it, we'll just include consideration for that in our budget proposal, and it'll be entertained in due course.
Now, from now till November, Amber, if I'm correct on this, you may run over on your budget, and we can't correct that until November. Is that
Correct. If any of it's paid out this year. I don't know how, the only thing our policy says you can only earn, what is it, up to 240 hours of comp as a 35-hour employee. So if they were to reach that maximum, then they would have to be paid out this year if they, depending on when they reach that. But ultimately, I think it probably affect it till next year's budget. But if it would, we could include it in our budget amendments later.
Okay, yeah, okay, this is a, thank
Thank
you,
you
that
very
was a
much.
report,
Appreciate that.
thank you.
I was gonna ask
Yeah.
just one thing, Bess, do you have any idea how many hours it'll take you to scan things?
I don't have any idea.
After you do the first 10, call it and tell me.
Yes, I mean, our files are very thick, and,
Okay.
Are they all in your office?
yes. Except
Well,
for,
you got some
we
over
have closed files over at the courthouse.
Over in the
We
basement?
would like to do our open files first, then go back and try to do our, closed files that we have to keep per the retention laws.
You're part of our problem, 21% of that building is in paper storage. Anyway, okay, thank you. Okay, permission to bid election supplies, Mr. Clerk.
Yes, Farmington has put on two issues on the November ballot, so we will have to have a election for that, and we have to then get your permission to bid out the supplies for that. We are trying to make it as sleek as possible. We're not gonna use the counting machines. We're gonna do hand count of ballots. We think there will be a very low turnout. But we have, by law, we have to have, for example, we have to have 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans at each poll workers at each location. They have to be there for certain times. We have to, and all the ballots and things all have to be, the paperwork has to be put out here. And that's what the things that create the ballots to do that. So if you'll authorize us to go get bids for that.
Is that the same ballot that you would normally run through the machine? Same marking?
We do the same ballot, we just don't have an electronic counting of this, and that saves us a little bit of money through the company that has to program the computer. We're gonna use the poll pads for the pre-voting, the early voting, and when you check in, but we're not gonna use the computerized tallying machines, because we just think that when you have to do it for 20-something, you get a little economies of scale, whereas we only have 4 locations, and some people say, well, we ought to combine. The city actually asked me to combine. I think it gives the appearance to the public that you're trying to pull something on them. If you don't have the normal polling places, you make them all vote in one place. And the other thing is, the cost isn't that much savings, because when you change a polling place, I have to send it out to every registered voter, even though only 10% of them are gonna show up. I have to have the expense of sending it to every registered voter.
In those precincts.
In those precincts, saying, you know, you're not gonna vote at your precinct, we're gonna make them all vote at you, so they have to be informed, so there's really no cost savings of lowering, down to one location or something. It's very, very minimal, and like I said, it gives the appearance to the people that they're trying to, well, they're not letting us vote in our normal spot, so we are doing the things that we possibly do to make it cheaper for them, but one of the things we have to have is the official ballots, and that's what we'll bid now.
So Farmington's the only one with a November election.
That's correct.
That's amazing. Okay.
But normally, we don't have a November in the odd years, but maybe chose to do so, and their feeling was that they wanted to go after this tax for the Wayfair and the police and fire. And I don't know if that was farming's thinking, but traditionally it's been the thinking, if you're going for tax increases, you go to the lowest turnout possible election, which if that's the only thing that's on the ballot, I would suspect that would be fair.
Yes.
Farmington will be picking up a majority of this expense.
Since they're
When
the only
you
one.
declare a special election, you have to, and that's what, a while back, there's consideration to us, because again, within, we have to bear the cost of 20-something precincts with, and it's very expensive. As in April, we split it to schools and the local cities that are elected their councils and that type of thing. So there's a split in the thing, that gives you some, much cheaper. And I know once when I was mayor, we did something, I was on the council, and we did something, but we got a lot of criticism for the cost, excess cost, by doing it in a special election, that people thought, well, if they would have just held it, you know, it would have cost a lot less. So I think that, you know, I have to have an authorization to get to do the bids for the supplies.
Okay, a motion to allow the bidding process to begin.
I'll make a motion to give them permission to bid the election supplies.
Second?
Second.
Questions?
In reality, it's probably gonna be the same supplies every time.
What's that company's name?
Atkins.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions, comments? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you, Kevin. Change in matrix, the prosecuting attorney's office, okay, you want to take care of this?
Sure. Lori Trump, HR. So on the current matrix, we have legal secretary. We do not have legal secretary 2, and we may need that in the future, so I just want to go ahead and get it on there.
We have 3 legal secretaries over there, and one of them makes like $500 more than the other 2. What's that all about?
I have to.
Okay.
Do they start the same?
I don't,
Okay.
I didn't look at the dates on them,
Okay.
but if it's one matrix, you think that's that one line, and they'd be the same. So, it's not a major difference, but.
Might be due to when the minimum wage was raised to $12 an hour and the rest of the employees were not adjusted accordingly.
I don't know, could be that. All I have is the name, title, and final pay. And maybe she worked overtime last time or something, I don't know, whatever, but now that wouldn't do it, okay. Okay, just a question. Yeah, so you just wanna bump up and have them a place to go
Exactly.
after a 5th year anniversary. Okay, motion?
I make a motion to put the, change to the matrix to add the legal secretary to, for the prosecutor.
I'll second.
Questions?
What does that go up to?
I'm sorry?
What's the dollar amount? Because we
Yeah.
usually go into the tier.
That
Plus-
one would start at $12.75 for the second, legal secretary 2.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you. HR and treasurer, who's gonna talk about deputy treasurer?
Mark Peterson, County Treasurer. In here today to my recommendation of possibly having so Shelby Dana Jenkins, her title as of right now is, she's a chief deputy, and I would like to just go and make her into a deputy treasurer, so she's, right now, she is nowhere to go from here.
Okay.
I'm biased, like most people in here working Dana, I wanna make sure to keep Dana, keep her happy, I wanted to know there's another place to go, and just kinda know you're capped out. She, like I said, I think most departments here has had Dana's help on something before, but she is a Pocket knife, she can do many things. You know, a few things that she's done that's actually not even part of her job description is she runs both postage meters over here and over the courthouse. It's just something she, I guess, volunteered one time and she's been doing it ever since. So, you know, they're not going through other things like that, but she helps in many ways.
We know she's valuable.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm biased because I get to work with her every day, but the other, so we would have our recommendation be no chief deputy in the office. We got Sheree, the deputy, excuse me, deputy clerk 3, and then that would make Dana a deputy treasurer. That's what I would recommend.
Okay, where's Dan right now? Did you say?
I'm sorry.
What'd you say she is right now?
Right now, she is a chief deputy.
Chief,
Right now, she's the only one, she's carrying the whole office besides you.
Yeah, we,
Because of sickness.
hoping she's back tomorrow,
Okay.
she's past, should be past her quarantine, so hopefully it'd be nice to get her back in there. And that's with both them, I'm sure, I mean, we've had, sure work from home some here, but, you know, I confidence in both of them that they can handle that, so. What I would request with that, maybe the title would be a $2 increase in pay, so moving from 23 to 25. She's been here 28 years now, coming up on 29 in a few months.
I showed 27 and a half years.
I got 28 on what I got to print out. I might go back and check for sure.
All right. No, we won't fish fight over that.
Close there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys have any questions
Okay.
on there.
When would this be effective?
I would like to have this, that's why we're kind of rushing this with the budget, being something that I'd like to have this in place for, I mean, I'd like to have it in place immediately, but definitely for, starting next year.
Okay. It's another 2.5 years by my count till our next anniversary date. So, you guys got an opinion or thoughts on it, or? No, that's what I. What?
Don't tell me, I don't think you're running for that.
Well, let's take a motion. See what, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that, we take Dana Jenkins from the chief deputy 4 to the deputy treasurer in the treasurer's office.
Second. Any questions?
I just want to point out one thing that I'm sure not many people realize is that we still have some county employees that receive paper checks as opposed to direct deposit.
Yep.
And on holidays and other days when we are closed and everybody else gets paid, Dana comes to this building and hands out those paper checks. And until that's changed.
I understand she's here early every morning, and gets the office opened up and stuff.
Well, I don't know about that, but all I know is that people that are getting paper checks depend on her. So until we change that, she has to do
And
that.
that's,
That is in
you
place.
kicked that here too.
Well, and that was part of the deal. I told her if we kept doing that, she's not doing that anymore, and I think she just, again, she goes above and beyond on everything she does, so, but, yeah, that will be taken, by the end of the year, everybody will be direct deposit.
She's taking on the ESS accounting for some departments and help that. So, and she's volunteering to do this stuff.
And I'll tell you a big thing, I know in her job description, it talks about the tips. You know, obviously Carrie did 30-something years, Carrie was the one in charge of those tips. I am learning the process. The problem when it comes to tips is it's once a year, so we've done it and we'll wait again until next year. So it's gonna take a little while to get fully comfortable. But, you know, I rely heavily on her on those kind of things right now, so hopefully it doesn't take me too long, but, you know, take a little time to get as much knowledge as she has.
You rely heavily on her. You've also threatened her to not retire.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. That's why I'm in here, wanting to make sure she's, I'm getting taken care
Okay.
of.
Yeah, she's a real asset to us. Okay, any other questions? Yes, Bob?
I didn't hear the salary for the deputy treasurer. Is that part of the?
Go ahead.
So what I request is on that title, that it would be a starting at $18, but with going off the matrix, she'd be going from 23 to 25.
Even dollars.
And your motion is to start that next fiscal year, right, next budget year?
Yeah, that's, okay. Thank you.
Just wanted to
Put this
clarify
one
that
out
that's
there.
budget year next year.
Yeah.
Amber?
So this position doesn't currently exist on our matrix?
No, I didn't say add to matrix, but that's what I meant to say on that.
Okay, well, you may wanna make sure your motion says to create the position and to appoint her, since the position doesn't currently exist.
Is that the clarification you would like?
Yes.
The appointment would be effective, the effective date, right? The appointment
Next.
Starting this fiscal year.
Yeah, fiscal year for us is calendar.
Position.
Okay.
Position.
Okay, that's your motion. Okay.
I'm sorry, second, you've already.
Did I have a second on that? Okay. Any other questions? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay, next regular meeting will be same here next week, but we'll be off on Labor Day of next week. So, there you are, and, don't forget the agenda items must be in
Friday.
on Friday. or next week. The law says it have to be in one full business day, 24 hours before the meeting. So that we put it on Friday at 10 a.m. Other business, correspondence. Public comments. Yes. Come
My
on,
name's-
microphone.
okay.
And please start with your name.
My name's Stu Donovan. I'm alderman in Iron Mountain Lake. And when you hear the word Iron Mountain Lake, a certain picture comes to your mind, and we are trying to change that. Is the sheriff in here? This gentleman has stepped up for us out there in a way that's making an impact, and we appreciate it. And we're trying to get an arrangement with them so that we're paying for overtime, deputies to come in, and we pick up their cost for that, which is gonna hopefully save you guys from having to go out there as much as what you're having to go. It's gonna save you money in the long run, and we're gonna pick up our responsibility on that. Our roads are a shambles. I'm doing everything I can to get our budget lined up. We have a lot of bad information passed down from year to year about what the finances are and what our situation is, where we were all told we were broke when I came in Alderman. I found out we do have money. It's just not being spent, but at least it hasn't been and doesn't. So that's the positive that we're going with. But
I want to commend you all, because I had a group come in a year and a half ago, or whenever it was. They want to get rid of the city. And it's, if you do, you wouldn't have got your apportionment from some of the stuff not being incorporated. And that's very short-sighted. So find some people that care and change it. You've got a process to do that, and you've rallied some people to come forward and to take responsibility and to make some changes, and I think it's great. It's the way it should be done, rather than just sitting down the outside and complaining. They got a time problem, they got the time to complain, but no time to help, and you guys are stepping forward to do that. We appreciate that.
me and my wife have been out there for 3 years now. We moved out there to take care of my in-laws. They're elderly, they're sick, and my wife's an ultrasound tech. Matter of fact, she does the health screenings for Farmington here, and she does the health screenings for Southeast Hospital. She owns Integra Wellness, so we have a mobile vascular screening company that we do, and I am a consultant for Delta Airlines, Honda, a lot of corporations like that. So we're different, we're a little different than what we're out there. But I have one gentleman that's on board with me. He's 81 years old. He has 3 aneurysms, and he's getting ready to have gallbladder surgery. This guy's a hell of a guy, but he's all I got really right now. So I'm going to keep driving, but I can't do it without the county's help. My goal was to do what I do with the corporations with this city and get them running efficiently and working as a team. And I appreciate all the help I'm getting.
Okay, well, we appreciate you and wish you well in your endeavor.
They also have a deficient bridge out there. I know I was talking to Harry about it this morning. They're below the dam. And
It's deficient?
19.9% is the sufficiency rating of that bridge. So I don't remember what the average daily traffic count is on that bridge, but I know it's something we've talked about before, maybe possibly looking at helping you guys start that project. We will receive the soft match credit through the BRO system if you guys fund a bridge or build a bridge. So it's something that we could do, maybe upfront a little bit of money, just depending on how that is, because we'll receive it on the back end.
That would be absolutely fantastic. It's in desperate need.
Right. I'll tell you a story. I have a memory of Iron Mountain Lake. When I was a very young man, I heard that there was a talking dog down there. And I went down to see this talking dog. I knocked on the door, and this lady came up, and she had a little black dog about this tall. And I said, "Do you have a talking dog?" She said, "Yes, come in." And I did, and she did something to entice the dog, and the dog started barking, and then he said clearly, "I'm hungry, Mama." Now, she was either a whale of a ventriloquist or she had a talking dog. I don't know. But I enjoyed it, whatever it was. And I've always remembered that. So anyway. Okay.
Dog gone?
We have nowhere to go from there.
Don't open it up to him. Don't do that. Okay. So anyway, past the "I'm hungry, Mama" comment. Okay. Any other public comments?
We have completed the filing for the ARPA funds. The first report that was due as of today.
Yeah.
And Ms. Smith was responsible for sitting through a very long personal meeting with somebody in Washington. We still don't know who the guy was, but asked very personal, in-depth questions.
It might be the president, because I don't.
But he didn't talk about a talking dog response.
Okay.
Yeah. Now we'll move to departmental reports. Anybody have anything? Yes, Amber.
Budgets are due no later than tomorrow. They're due to the auditor's office by September 1st. There are a few offices that still have not submitted theirs, so this is your friendly reminder to get your budgets in.
One question I had is, where does the floodplain manager fit in on the budget?
He's on yours.
I didn't see that one. I'll have to look at it. Okay. I didn't see that one.
It's friendly right now, right?
Okay. All right.
We do want to point out that we have received a number of budgets, including the new assessor who completed his budget early.
Okay.
And they're
He's back there smiling. Yes.
Oh, is he here?
Two things. One, we decided to put all the election results, I think, back to 2012 on our website. Because we get sunshine requests periodically on what was done 2 or 3 years ago, so we're gonna do like we did the minutes and everything else, so that if you wanna see what Ashcroft did, you know, and how well he did, or that the school board, if a local election, how many people turned out for this or whatever, we'll have those hopefully in the next month on. They said that we had copies to 12, so that's what we're gonna do. And then that way, when somebody sunshines, it will say, go to the website. You go back and look it up. One other thing, Rhonda asked me, anybody that has county vehicles, if we're gonna file an insurance claim, we have to have the driver's report. Once again, we bring this up periodically. We can't just turn in a claim, you know, without you're telling us about it. We've got one from over 3 weeks ago, we still do not have. Now, this one's being investigated by the state patrol. I understand the underlying report, but in order to start the process, we have to have the driver's report, whether it's one of your guys or one of the sheriff's deputies or whoever. Just, you know, pretend that, for some reason, we don't think of what if you had an accident in your personal car, you'd contact the insurance company, and they'd ask you some basic questions. Well, when we contact the insurance, we have to have those things to get the process started. Like this one, we're waiting for over 3 weeks to get the thing started. The other company, the other driver wants to file a claim, and now we're trying to say that it's their fault, and the farther it gets away from the accident, the more difficult those reports get to make. So just a reminder to everybody that drives a county car.
Okay, any other departmental reports? Yes, Dan?
I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce the newly elected assessor at midnight tonight. He will take over and be in tomorrow at 8 a.m. with my official.
We can't call him 1201?
So we're calling it?
Can we call him at 1201?
1201. Yeah, you can call him. Whether he'll answer, I don't know. Eric Dugal is the newly elected assessor, will take over tomorrow, but my retirement is effective 4 p.m. today. So.
Stand up, Eric, and wave at everybody. Hi there. Welcome. Okay, any other?
We'll talk to you at 12.
Okay, got a temporary cooling system over at the courthouse. One of the big units is shut down on its own, and that replacement unit is backlogged and had to keep the courtroom cool, because if you have a hot courtroom, then the losing lawyer might use that for an excuse to appeal. So that's, we have to be careful about that. So that's what's going on there.
Excuse me, what is the cost of that?
It's $9,000, what?
A month.
A month, yeah.
Who's providing the service?
I'm sorry?
Who's providing that?
We do.
I know, but what vendor?
Oh, it's the same one that's got the back of the computer, or I'm sorry, the air conditioner unit on order. They had this standby unit. So,
We've had that air conditioner ordered for over a month. And
That was
we don't
the
know.
state contract.
We're
right?
not for sure when.
yes, it is. And we're negotiating, since basically we're blaming them for the backlog. We're trying to negotiate that price. So that's what's going on. Now, we've had some brief about the flags at half-staff. Our maintenance people use a national source, a website, I don't know the name of it, but they've done that, and early last week, we lowered the flags for the in remembrance of the people that lost their lives in Afghanistan. Now, the website said raise the flags on Sunday, August 30th. They had a date wrong on, actually Monday was August the 30th. And our guys took it back up on Sunday. We had all kinds of grief. We had people walking in angry, had phone calls angry about raising the flag. So that's what that's all about. And so it's all social media junk, what caused it all. So somebody put it on there that they're sorry that the Arnold County doesn't respect these people. We did what we were told, but we didn't pick up on that date.
Let me say, you do not have the permission to lower and raise the flags. So you do not have legal permission, because I had to do a bill a few years ago. Nobody had permission except the president until a few years ago. So you have to follow instructions of what up and down. You don't just have the discretion to say, raise it, lower it. You know, my cousin Bertha, she died, lower it. You know, you don't have, so our maintenance people have to follow the instructions that are set forth, because they can't make a determination on their own.
Now,
I mean, just legally they can't.
We received notification through the Missouri Office of Administration.
I just wanted to point that out. That's not you all's discretion. They get the notice when it goes up, when it goes down, and there's only a couple people, the governor and the president, that can make a legal authorization.
Now, to help our maintenance people, because they commonly get a lot of calls when the flags go down.
Yeah, that's not your call.
I looked at the possibility, one of these guys had a brilliant idea of putting a scrolling sign out there, just an LED sign saying flags at half-staff in honor of Afghanistan losses or whatever. And they may also say that offices will be closed Monday because of Labor Day. I contacted Greg Beavers, and there's a rule against putting a scrolling sign up in downtown Farmington.
Of course.
So I checked with him again this morning, and I said, okay, what if we put a sign up back on our parking lot? Is that downtown Farmington? He said, yeah, that's in the historic district. So we can't put a scrolling sign up anywhere. So I'm still looking for an answer on how to do that.
Didn't you put it on our website?
We could. I don't know if do we put that now on the website?
We always do, and we have it set up. We have pop-ups when they come up. They'll say we're closed on Labor Day.
I mean, like when the flags are lowered.
Oh,
Yeah.
we can do that as well.
Put on the website.
And they didn't like the office building, that kind of stuff too. So, but I
also
still
gotta take care of the
like
ones
the
that don't
idea of the
have the internet.
scrolling sign, but can't do it yet, so anyway. Okay, I have a question. Dan Ward's retiring, and all these guys are named Dan Ward.
It's me on the left.
That was Eric.
I wasn't sure. And if you go, if you research Dan Ward, there's 100 pictures, and I just picked out the three obvious ones. But anyway, I think this, I went the wrong direction. Okay, but Dan has been here since 2007, and elected in 2006, of course, and so, Dan, come on up here.
King.
Did I get the right picture?
And you got more gray hair. It's not his job, is it?
Did he pick the right Dan Warren?
I think he did. There are several around here.
Dan, here's a letter of appreciation, and there's a gift certificate there.
Thank you.
And your gift certificate goes for 12 West. I thought you'd like to get one.
Oh, you bet. My wife will love it.
See, I moved. and
Kevin?
Act like you're doing a presentation here.
Here, shake hands. That's painful for you. I know. Good recovery. Hey,
I looked at the board downstairs, and actually, I think I'm the fourth longest serving assessor since 1823. So hopefully Eric will beat that one by staying here a lot longer. He has.
Now, you didn't start till 1825, correct?
Of course, Damon Black was the longest serving, and there were two others prior, other than me. But it's been an interesting 14 years, and it was a pleasure serving under this commission as well as the 6 other commissioners that I worked with over the 14 years I was here. We did get along with commissioners, and as I told Eric, that's one of the things you want to do, is make sure you get along with the county commissioners, because they can make it, your job really easy, and they can make it very difficult. So it's important to do that. But it's been a pleasure for me to serve. The office staff that's worked with me over these last 14 years has been very dependable and very honest and trustworthy people, and I've always appreciated those under me, and Eric will learn that those are the ones that make you look good. And so I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
That's a good speech for not being politician. Jane, you're not off the hook. Get up here. Where's your picture?
I was gonna say, where's Jane's pictures?
Thank God.
Jane, I've written a letter, a personal letter to you, and it talks about how much I've enjoyed talking to you.
Oh, good, good,
She's
good.
become a friend. Now, the last paragraph of this letter says, in the future, if someone from the assessor's office shows up at your front door to assess your property, give them some sass. You've earned the right, you know what to say. Now, here's a gift certificate for Rural. All right, you two, settle in. Okay, were there any more departmental reports? Okay, motion.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn. Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.